in to the latest edition of Terrible Towel Tuesday. If you see me squinting a little bit, it's because the lights are a little brighter than I expected, so you might see me tuning that down a little bit here and there throughout the show. But what's going on, everybody, man? Happy to have you guys back for another edition of Terrible Towel Tuesday. Like I said before, I am SimFBallCritic, and we'll talk a little Steelers football here tonight. Not a whole lot to talk about. Obviously, there's not a lot to talk about, but we will discuss a couple things. And I don't plan to be before you too long, guys. You know my time limit is usually up to an hour. I definitely don't think we're going to reach that tonight. So there you have it. But at least try to give you a decent amount of time for content. But how's everybody doing, man? You guys know I like to wait for a few moments and allow some people to get up in here before we dive all the way into it. So let's do that. How's everybody doing so far? Hope your night has been bright. And I hope your week has started off well. And I'm just checking a couple websites here, guys, just to make sure I didn't miss any last-minute news that I may want to bring on to the show tonight, since, you know, we're pretty much struggling, you know, for, content at this time of the year. You know, we got the Combine coming pretty soon, so at least we'll have some things to talk about there. But let's see. Is there anything else? Here's something interesting that I saw. I was reading something interesting here, man, about Thomas Davis basically saying that Ben Roethlisberger, you know, gave up on the team, you know, despite not being able to throw the football. Interesting. And what I will do, man, I will definitely read that as well. So that's something extra that we can throw in on tonight's topic. But anyway, man, let's get into you guys really quick. What's up, more AGWS, Brent Fine, Steve Williams, Michael Garman, Luck W, Thunder Kid 31. I'm not sure I've seen your name before. Correct me if I'm wrong, or you may not have been here for a while, but your name kind of popped out, you know, because I have somewhat of a photographic memory, if you will. I can very easily remember things that I've seen or haven't seen in a while, etc., etc. But I think you may be relatively new. Excuse me. Patrick Covington, what's up, Patrick? How you been, man? Black Hawk, Brandon Vickers, Sonny Rothmiller, my brother Kenyon in the building. Hello, Miss Lanisha, how you doing tonight? 11 Bravo. Who else? Brandon Cheney, Drew Wilson. Drew. That's funny that the two Drews are back to back. Y'all saw that? That's funny, right? But all right, man. So I guess that's enough for the intros, and let's do something a little different tonight. I'm gonna ask you guys, with the exception of the title of the video, I'm gonna ask you guys, what is something that you want me to discuss really quick before I dive into my little topics that I have? So throw something in the chat, man, and I'll go with the majority rules. Throw something in the chat you might just want me to speak reference to before we dive into the topics. And again, not the main topic, obviously, what I have in the title there. Let's try something a little different tonight. Verducci, man, what's going on, man? How you doing? Droz Hill, what's going on? I'll wait. See what you guys come up with as I take a sip of water from my Yeti. If I can turn it to the right way. Let me tell you something. This is one of the best things, man, ever. You know, my wife actually got me one. She bought one, and then she got me one as, you know, one of my little side gifts for Christmas. And I love this thing, man. It stays cold literally all day. The ice is still in it. Just a little side note right there. AB return. Okay, we'll dive into that. We'll dive into that first. Yes, Luke, I'm actually going to talk about the receivers coach, but we'll dive into AB. Hello, Miss Debbie. How you doing tonight? Make sure you guys take time to say hello to the ladies, man. All right. Yes, so a couple of you guys said talk about the new wide receiver coach. That is one of my, definitely, you know, one of my topics that I'll hit tonight. So I'll save that, put it in the pocket for just a moment. But really quick, let's go into the AB stuff, man. So, and this is going to be a part of my topic. We're going to talk about Mike Tomlin going on First Take. But let's just take this small piece of it. How do you guys feel about an Antonio Brown return? Let's be real here. I want to ask you guys first, man. I'll give my thoughts, but I definitely want to throw it out there to you guys, and I'll check in the chat and see what you guys have to say. But what I want to do is I want to challenge you guys with don't answer it from just a fan perspective. Try to look at it across the board. Don't look at it as just, I would love to have the Killer Bees back, etc., etc., if that meant at least 2 of them or if that meant all 3 of them. But really, how would you feel about Antonio Brown being back in Pittsburgh? All right, and here's my thoughts really quick. I got to take my fandom out of it. Again, I'm a person of second chances. I don't want to throw anybody away. I don't want to throw anybody in the trash. But Antonio Brown, man, his history, it just doesn't allow us to believe in what he's saying much, right? Of course, you are down and out right now in terms of playing football. He has money, which we all will assume. He's made the money with Pittsburgh, and, he seems to be a guy who likes nice things, but he doesn't seem to be the type of guy that blows his money. So he has money. It's not about that, right? It's the fact that you're unable to do what you love to do. That has been taken away from you at the moment, right? So, of course, now you're going to say and do whatever you can to get back into the league. Now, I'm the type of person that gives people, a chance to prove it to me. I'll listen to their good. I'll listen to their bad. I heard his interview when he was on The Breakfast Club. I prefer to watch The Breakfast Club more than I prefer, Hot 97. Some of you guys may not have any idea what I'm talking about. But he was on both places. I saw The Breakfast Club interview. And, he's talking better, if you will. He's talking more mature. Not as many things sounding like he's reaching. He sounds a little more mature and things like that. But listen, talk is cheap. How many times has Antonio Brown apologized for his actions while in Pittsburgh, right? And now you got all of these other things going on. I'm not the type that pokes fun or try to poke holes in anybody's personal life. That's not my business. I don't know him, so I'm not going to judge him from afar just being a fan. I don't know this guy. I don't know what he did, what he didn't do. I don't know if the sexual allegations or what have you are real or they're not real. I have no idea of knowing that. But what I do know is, I don't think that's something that I would prefer in the locker room right now. How can we guarantee that he's completely changed? Again, like I said, I'm a second chance type of guy. However, how many chances are we going to give him? How many things have he, how many, incidents did he have while in Pittsburgh that we were able to keep under wraps? What a great job by the coaching staff, ownership. You got to give Mike Tomlin a nod with that, especially once we heard, when he left Pittsburgh, you heard players come out and say he won't make it to week 1 without Tomlin. What was really going on? Whether some people are going to say he created a monster or not, listen, that's debatable. You may feel that it was wrong for him to do that. Some may feel he had to do what he had to do. I'm not here to debate that. However, I don't know if I'm willing to take that chance right now, man. I mean, excuse me. It's almost like go ahead and start ushering in the new. Ben Roethlisberger clearly is on his way out. Whether he's healthy or not, I give Ben 2 more years. I think he doesn't sign another contract. So we're already in a situation where we're going to have to start transitioning, to building a new offense and building a new foundation, et cetera, et cetera. Why bring, a cancerous situation back into your locker room? Now, if they were to do it, I posed this to Tony last Friday, just joking. I said, imagine if the Steelers, imagine this for a second, guys. Le'Veon Bell and AB are able to get back to the Steelers somehow, and they go as far as saying, look, I will accept, league minimum. I just want to play. I have enough money. I just think we have what it takes with that defense to win a Super Bowl. Imagine that. Imagine if we got them both back and went on a 2-year run. Wouldn't that be crazy? But realistically, guys, I'm not looking at that. I'm not even looking at that as being something that will happen, and I can't really say that I would want it. Only because, Antonio Brown has cried wolf so many times. It's hard for me to believe him. So, it's just my thoughts on it. Let me see what you guys say real quick, man. Let me check a couple of you guys' comments, and then we'll move forward. Let's see. Yeah, Nays, on the Breakfast Club, he was decent. But let me see if any of you guys got y'all opinion about it really quick. KSO Dangerous says, nah, he a great talent, but we doing fine right. Yeah, man. I mean, realistically, I think we're doing okay. I mean, it's hard to judge with this last year with the quarterback situation, but yeah. Freeman Marcus says AB is an organization killer. Fly High PA says he'd rather have Bell back if anything. Yes, definitely heard in the Breakfast Club interview, Nays. Let me see. Why Diggy says, I don't think at this point it's better for both AB and the Steelers to go their separate ways. Yeah, you might be right there. Drew Wilson says, as a fan, yeah, but as a football fan, no. His Breakfast Club interview was a clown show. Yeah, he was clowning a little bit, but especially with the president, he brought those guys. It was just ha-ha jokes and laughs. But again, if you take the quote unquote seriousness out of the interview, he tried to come across as if he was more intelligent and more accountable, and he said all the right things, and he said it with very little disruption, if you will. Like, he articulated himself very well. Even though he's soft-spoken type of guy, he made it seem as if he was trying to have a level head. Again, it could all be a show, right? And he's done too many things for us to feel like let's take a chance. Excuse me. Darwin Dalton says the biggest reality is with what money? Can't afford him anyway with our cap space. Yeah, and that's another thing, because I see a lot of fans that keep saying bring him back. We still got to look at the business side of things. The only way that would even happen, man, is if this dude, like I said, is willing to say, I've made the money. It's about winning right now. I'll play league minimum, play on the league minimum, and that's it. So there you have it. Those are just my quick thoughts about AB. Let's get into the next thing here, man. Let's talk a little bit about. Let's talk about the new wide receiver coach. And see, this is the reason why, guys, is always wait. It's always best to wait until we got the facts. Last week there was speculation that it was going to be the guy out of McClendon, out of South Carolina State, right? Or South Carolina, excuse me. We thought it was going to be him. That's what everybody was saying. Then we heard more information saying that the Steelers had interviewed Jericho Cotchery, but all the reports were saying the Steelers will sign this guy McClendon as the new wide receiver coach, and it seemed like it was about to happen. Nothing official from the Pittsburgh Steelers, but all of a sudden we hear today, or it may have been yesterday, but I didn't know until the day Kenyon shared it with me. Steelers hire ex-wide receiver Ike Hilliard, to be the wide receiver coach. Now, initially, my first thought was, an ex-player, and I'll share you guys, briefly, Kenyon's thought as well. Kenyon was kind of like, I'm a little concerned about that. I would imagine it's the same reason why I would have had a concern, because it's an ex-player, and we're thinking, does he have any coaching pedigree? Come to find out, he does. I had no idea that Ike Hilliard was coaching. Had no idea. You know where he was just recently at this past season? The Washington Redskins. Now, some people will probably say, well, the Washington Redskins weren't that great. Yeah, but that kid, Terry McLaurin, had an outstanding season as a rookie, right? Of course, you got to give some of that to him, but you also got to credit the coach as well. So clearly, he was able to do a good job with, at least a wide receiver prospect. I don't even know the rest of their receivers. I would have no way of knowing how their season was, from a receiver standpoint. I just know that McLaurin was getting off, right? Terry McLaurin was getting off in Washington, even with them having pretty much a horrible record. And for being a rookie, you got to give the coach some of that praise as well. So there you have it. So this is what I like about the hire. Listen, I don't know if Ike Hilliard is a great coach or not, but I do like the fact that this is a guy, I've been there and done that type of guy, played the position, and he has coaching pedigree that I didn't even know about. So he has experience in both areas, checks those two boxes. So I'm cool with it. What was the knock that we all had against Hines Ward? We always said, is he going to be a great coach? We never knew, right? And I guess you never know until you take a chance. But you always got to look at it from that standpoint, man. And unless it's a guy who's been in the league for a while. And here's the irony of that point that I just made there. Most of these guys had to start out as a new coach somewhere, right? Anybody who's ever been hired, at one point they were a brand new coach. So on one hand, you could kind of say I'd rather have a guy with coaching experience, but on the flip side of that, everybody has to start from somewhere. So I can't always hold that against people. However, it's always better, if we're talking about the current situation, it's always better to have someone who's a little more seasoned, relatively young. There you have it. I think Ike Hilliard in that regard was a great hire. All right, so that's pretty cool. So, of course, you guys can let me know what y'all think about that. I have no idea. Have no idea what type of coach he is. But, again, it's good to see that Tomlin and whoever else is responsible, whether that be Colbert or Rooney, it's good to see that they're continuing to try to add to the staff that we have. I think, in my own opinion, it just helps to mask some of the ugliness, if you will. The same way I felt about last year. The defense did a great job, but I think there was more involvement by Mike Tomlin. We actually saw the visual evidence in a couple of those games where he actually had a play call sheet. And then there were times when it looks like Butler was calling. And then, of course, Terrell Austin is doing something. So I think this year we're going to see the same type of situation, helping out on the offensive side. New wide receivers coach, which, of course, you always got to have that. But it's good to see that they went out and actively hired somebody instead of just going through their normal strategy of promoting someone from inside, or, you would have thought maybe they was going to allow Ray Sherman to continue doing it. It's good to see that they're actively pursuing other people. Same thing with the quarterback coach. Okay, instead of trying to pull somebody from inside, they go out and get Matt Canada, and there you have it. Now we got some youth in the offensive room. We already had it last year in one position, which was the running backs coach and Eddie Faulkner. But now you're going to have Hilliard, Faulkner, and this guy, I just said his name. How did I lose his name that fast? Canada. So it's cool to see that they're infusing some youth in that offensive side of the ball along with Fichtner. So I'm, excited to see how that goes. Now let me talk about this other thing real quick, man, before we get into the whole news here about Mason Rudolph and such. And then, I'll take a phone call or two if you guys call in. But let me see. What was the other thing I wanted to talk about really quick? They kind of run together, the Tomlin on First Take. But let me mention this other piece real quick. So Thomas Davis had something to say about Ben Roethlisberger and the injury. He basically says that Ben Roethlisberger gave up on the Steelers last season despite not being capable of throwing. So let's read what he actually says, man. Here's the quote from basically what he said. He says, I look at the injury from my perspective as a player who has played this game for a while and has gone through a ton of injuries. If there's something that I can possibly play with, I'm going to try to do it. I know the quarterback, your elbow, that's a little different. But we kind of heard that Ben could come back and play. The Steelers defense did a great job last year of keeping them in the playoff hunt and could have come back and he could have played or been a part of that playoff run. Possibly, but chose not to. He says, I just think that he kind of looked at the roster and the way things started out last year, and he kind of gave up on the team, in my opinion. Now, excuse me. Let me ponder my thoughts really quick. Let me take another sip of water. Excuse me, guys. How can I approach this? There's a lot of things that I could pick through in that. But let me just say this. I like Thomas Davis. Thomas Davis has definitely been a nice professional. He is the type of guy, man, hard-nosed type of guy. We've seen it, in his career. Remember that year when he had that arm injury, and y'all remember that he posted that picture on Twitter or whatever, and it looked like his arm looked like a football when he showed how it was stitched up. And the dude was out there playing not much longer after that. I get it. But here's where I differ. First of all, he said that's my opinion. And he said he was hearing that he could have came back. And listen, I'm not going to challenge that. You know, Thomas Davis is playing in that arena. Maybe he did hear something, okay? You know, there's circles in the NFL and, you know, people have connections everywhere. I don't know. None of us will ever know. But there's some validity to what he's saying. Possibly. Let's look at it from that standpoint. Let's assume that what he's saying is possibly true. It's still tough to say when you're talking about a quarterback. Right? Think about it. It's your throwing elbow. Your throwing elbow on that arm. So even if you could possibly return, the risk factor of damaging the arm forever has to be heightened at his age, number one. Number two, if Ben Roethlisberger is out there and he's not able to manipulate the defense and play Ben ball, he doesn't help us. If all you're asking him to do is just be out there as a veteran presence and turn and hand the football off, we clearly saw what happened to the run game. So I don't understand his angle there. It'll be different, you know, if it was in the throes of the situation. Like I know some years ago, you know, the whole situation when Jay Cutler got hurt in that playoff game and people questioned his character. That's a little different because it happened during that game when there was something on the line. And even then, you could question, you know, should a guy play through this, should a guy play through that? But that's a little different situation. We're talking about, you know, when it happened to Ben Roethlisberger, and then again, later in the season, you know, you're saying they're making a playoff run. You know, does Ben feel like his arm is well enough to help, you know, propel us through the playoffs to the Super Bowl and possibly win one? I don't know. But all I can say is, like, without getting into the weeds of all of that, we're talking about a quarterback whose primary job is to handle the football from snap to handoff or from snap to passing the ball. That's number one. Number two, your other primary function, when you're not handing off the ball, you're throwing it. And Ben Roethlisberger, how many games has Ben Roethlisberger played where he's throwing the ball 40 plus times? If that's not going to be able to happen, and he's not going to be able to play Ben ball, I don't think our chances are any better than it was with Mason Rudolph or Duck Hodges. I'm just keeping it real. That's just my thought. Now, Thomas Davis can have his opinion, great. But here's the last thing I would say about that. This ain't no disrespect to Thomas Davis or anybody that does this, you know, because people have the right to be who they want to be. Why say that? I mean, what do you gain out of that? Now, I didn't see it. You know, maybe he said it during an interview, or maybe he said it when he was a panelist on one of the talk shows. I don't know. But what's the point? As a fellow player, like, what's the point in going in on it? I don't understand it. You know, it's got to be some type of code to that. You know, it's got to be some type of unwritten code. You know what I mean? I mean, again, I'm not saying the man can't share his opinion, but like I said, I don't understand that. And let's take time out to give a round of applause, man, to In the Green TV. Appreciate that donation, man. And I'm definitely going to read your comment. He says, Sim, respect your hustle. Thanks for giving us a spot to talk Steelers football. Absolutely, man. This is the reason why I do it. And it's the reason why I'm trying to continue to do it even during these off times. You know, I wish I could do it full time. Maybe I could find more things to talk about throughout the week. But I try to at least give us a spot, you know, where we can just hang out and talk Steelers football from the average fan perspective, man, even without the season. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. I don't understand Thomas Davis in that one. I don't understand that coming out of left field. Again, if he was on a panel, you know, if he was a guest, commentator or whatever, I don't know. I just don't understand it. You know, what purpose does it serve? The season is over. Whatever. But anyway, guys, let's get into the biggest news here. Sorry, guys. This weather changing, man. Just keep messing with me, man. One day it's cold, one day it's warm. It's crazy. Speaking of which, now that I got a good crowd here, let me speak to my fellas for a minute, really quick. Not to exclude Lanisha or Debbie, but women tend to do this more than men anyway. So this is probably not going to affect them. Well, let me talk to my fellas really quick, man. Speaking of which, of health and all of that, I went this morning, dropped my son off, saw him on the bus. And then I went down the street about a mile or so. There's a lab there. Went and got my blood drawn because I have a doctor's appointment this coming Monday. He always likes me to do it a week or so before the appointment. But I say all that to say this. Guys, stop being men, okay? Stop acting like men and go to the doctor. Because I know a lot of times as men, traditionally, we all right. We don't go get the annual checkups and all that. No. We got to stop doing that, fellas. Got to stop doing that. You got to take care of your health and make sure you know what's going on. And I love, where I live, the well-span areas, the health area around here. I had results back, within 2 hours. I was able to go online and check, the important things. Glucose looks good. Cholesterol looks good. The only thing that, had a little flag on it is I think I have an iron deficiency. Because the last time I got my blood drawn, it was the same thing. And I think I heard something about this when I was a kid that I might have been anemic or something like that. So nothing major, but it does appear that I may have an iron deficiency. Because again, like I said, last year or two when I had my blood drawn, it was the same thing. So I'm sure my doctor will talk to me about that. I probably have to take some iron pills or something like that. But bottom line, guys, stop just being hardcore guys. Take your butt to the doctor, man, and make sure you find out what's going on. Because you don't want those things that could creep up on you to creep up on you, and it's too late. Those things like high blood pressure, diabetes, and cholesterol. All right? So make sure you do that. But all right, man, let's get into this news, man, about, let's get into this news. This new news again. So everybody knows, man, unless you've been under a rock, and maybe you forgot about it because it happened so long ago now. So Cleveland Browns, the first time we played them in Cleveland this past season, Mason Rudolph was the quarterback. He had the worst game of his career. We all saw that, and we still were in a position to win that game, right? Throws 4 interceptions, and we just get beat up. He gets beat up. I showed you guys even here on the post-game show. No, probably was on Terrible Tile Tuesday. That's when we do the film study. I showed you plays where he had guys wide open. Remember the 4th and 1? Flashed right in front of him. Never saw him. Still had opportunities to win the game, right? But about 16 seconds or so left in the game, a fight ensues, right? And you see that Myles Garrett and Mason Rudolph is on the ground and they're tugging at each other. And I will admit this. It looks like Mason Rudolph was grabbing for his helmet. He had his hands like kind of behind the neck area. I don't know what Mason Rudolph was doing. I would love to hear his explanation. Because I'm going to be fair about this situation. What were you doing? Was you trying to be big and bad and rip that man's helmet off? I don't know. And it might have just been impulse. He might have just been grabbing that stuff. We'll never know, right? But that's neither here or there. They get him up. Mason Rudolph helmet comes off because Myles Garrett is able to rip his off. Mason Rudolph attempts to retaliate. He charges after him. And what does Myles Garrett do? Takes the helmet and swings it. Bam! Hits Mason Rudolph in the top of the head. Kind of grazed him. Luckily for everybody involved that it wasn't the cleanest shot. Because had he connected with all of his might and it didn't graze him, had he hit him flush on the top of the head, flush in the temple, flush on the chin, flush in the mouth, anything like that, we talking about a whole different situation here. So Myles Garrett, he gets suspended. They suspend him indefinitely, 6 games, and then he just got reinstated. But what happened over the weekend? I didn't see it, but we all know about it now. He was on Outside of the Lines on ESPN. Excuse me once again. So he's on outside of the lines, right? And what does this guy decide to do? Yeah. He continues with his story of saying that Mason Rudolph called him a racial slur. Now, I shouldn't have to spell this out, but sometimes, guys, you have to spell it out completely because people don't know what you're referring to. Okay, so Myles Garrett being a black male, Mason Rudolph being a white male, Myles Garrett is claiming that Mason Rudolph called him the N-word. Okay? That's what he claimed that Mason Rudolph said. Now, I'm not being biased here, and I'm not saying claim like that with sarcasm. But I am saying it with a little bit of, a little side eye. Let me explain to you why. Nobody else heard it, which, not saying that could have happened, He could say something to him without everybody hearing it. I mean, people were close, but it is possible when they were in their tussle, he said something, right? I'm not going to say it's impossible, but you have to look at that part of it. Nobody else heard it. The NFL did an investigation, and they claimed that they couldn't find any sound bites matching anything close to it. Myles Garrett claimed that, well, of course you wouldn't hear it because, the helmet or what have you, it was ripped off, so he didn't have it. But from what I'm hearing is just the receiving end in the helmet, I think. I don't know if there's a microphone for him to talk back. Not sure. But I think that's what some of the news came out saying that, so that doesn't make sense either way. Then you hear Mike Tomlin say that, he has relationships in Cleveland as well. He didn't hear anybody say anything close to that. You didn't hear any of the other teammates say it post-game. You would think if that was something that happened, come on, fellas. Y'all know. Now, I'm not even just going to say just the racial slur, but any of you guys who are watching. Y'all know when somebody say a hot button word, you telling somebody. Immediately. Had that been one of us, I'd have been like, yo, he called me. You know what I'm saying? I would have went off. Like, yo, this dude, I'm coming off of the field. They carrying me off the field. I'm like, yo, that dude said he called me da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Immediately. That's because your emotion is going to say that. And it's those hot button words. For us who are African American, that's one of those words if somebody says it to you derogatorily, right? Derogatorily. I think that's the right way to say that. I might have just made up a word there. But, you know what I'm saying? Somebody, call your mom a B or, talk about your wife or your kids. And those are these hot button words that your immediate response is going to be like, what? You know what I'm saying? And I'm sure when people that didn't know, teammates, I'm sure when they was like, yo, what happened? Immediately he's going to say, yo, the boy called me da-da-da-da-da. So that's the reason why I feel like it's kind of hard for me to believe what Myles Garrett is saying. And also, that report didn't come out until a week or so later. Or a few days after. And my whole point is this. You're bringing it up again now. You'll do this whole out of the line segment and you double down on it. And I'm like, why? Now, let me play both sides of the fence. Maybe Myles Garrett thought he did say that and he's playing this all the way. I don't know. Or maybe he's just trying to do whatever he can do to save face. Whether we agree with him or not, I understand it. Because if you feel like you played yourself and you did something like Stephen A. Smith would say, egregious, then egregious act like he did with the helmet. Maybe you trying to do whatever you can to downplay the fact that now I'm being viewed as a violent person. You see what I'm saying? Knowing that you have a little bit of history. So it could be a number of reasons why he's continuing with that story. I just find it hard to believe, man, that that's what he said. I mean, that exact thing, I just find it hard to believe because, again, even though I said it's possible that you can say things and nobody hears it, but I'm sure they were yelling at each other. I'm sure he didn't whisper to him and say, hey, you N-word. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure he didn't do that. I'm sure it would have been yelling. Because again, what did I just say? Things provoke you. So Mason Rudolph was provoked at the fact that Myles Garrett continued to push him down on the ground with, a few seconds left in the fourth quarter. So that would have provoked him to be loud and yell. And so, I don't know. I just find that hard to believe, and I don't think that actually happened to that capacity. But I did want to share this really quick, man, before I close out this segment. Hate him or love him, man, you got to respect what Mike Tomlin did. We don't hear from Mike Tomlin during this time of the year, man. Not for nothing like this. Okay? Mike Tomlin went on First Take. Mike Tomlin usually don't interfere or involve himself with those type of things. But he did that purposely to protect his player. And to me, I got to respect that. That's a leader. Because I guess he felt like, wait. Kind of like how he said in the interview for you guys who saw it. You can read between the lines that he was basically saying, all right, this has gone too far now. What's the words he used? He's hacked off. And he stepped in and was like, nah, I'm going to put an end to this. I respect that. And I'm going to leave it right there, because I know some people are going to debate this. Oh, but he's still not a good coach. Who cares about all of that? I'm talking about specifically how he handled this situation. My hat's off to him. I think he did a great job. And I would love to play for somebody that's got my back like that. Just my thoughts. But all right, man, let me see. Is anybody in the queue? We have one call in the queue as of right now. We have area code 803. So I will take you guys' phone calls. Y'all know the routine, man. It should get to a point where I never even have to say this anymore, but, we always have to. Just keep it short for us, guys. Don't make me cut you short. But let's get area code 803 in here and hear his thoughts. How you doing tonight, 803?
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Good. Now, with Mason Rudolph and Myles Garrett thing, I believe that somehow this has to be, before the season starts, somehow somebody's going to have to bring these guys together. Somebody as a mediator, somebody, so they can get this thing out of the air before it goes in the courtroom, where it looks like right now Myles Garrett might be trying to destroy Mason Rudolph's character, or whatever it is. I feel that but this has been unusual all season. I have to commend Mike Tomlin for stepping up for Mason Rudolph. And we've heard a lot from the owner, Art Rooney, a lot this year. That's unusual. You don't hear much from Rooney. This has been a lot. You've heard a lot from Art Rooney. But if anybody who's been baptized by fire this year, it has been Mason Rudolph, not only with the Myles Garrett situation, but being knocked out by Earl Thomas, maybe about, 3 weeks or 4 weeks before then?
Yeah.
That's all I got to say, and thank you so much.
Definitely, man. Always appreciate you coming in, chiming in with us, man. Yeah, we have seen a lot of people talking this year that usually don't talk this early. So it's kind of good to see, man. I think that's the reason why, you got to respect the Steelers organization, us as fans, and then you see people who are not Steelers fans who talk about the, upper class, the upper echelon, if you will, of ownership and organization. But yeah, man, I mean, it definitely does seem like, I don't want to just say that outright, but it seems like he's attacking his character. Because I try to look at everything from both sides. I give it a fair assessment until I see you go too far. So maybe the next thing Myles Garrett does might be too far, and I'll be like, okay, now I see what you're really doing. But I'm going to say that to say this. Maybe Myles Garrett legitimately thinks, excuse me, he heard something that he didn't hear. And he's sticking to it. Maybe. But you just got to be careful, man, because it's kind of leaning more towards attack on character now. And if that is not your intention, you need to, be more upfront with that, saying, look, I'm not trying to say the guy is a bad guy or anything like that. I just heard what I heard, and that's it. So we'll see. We'll see, man. So it just seems a little odd, man. I just don't, it's just hard for me to believe that that's what really, really happened. But all right, guys, I'm going to spend a little bit of time in here in the chat with you guys, man, before we get out of here. Let's see. We're going to start with Debbie. Debbie says, and the organization, the interview in fear that the Steelers were just as responsible for the cover, where they did not fully participate in an investigation. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Let's go back, Debbie. Let me see. I think I missed a point there. Let me see. I think Debbie is responding to something else, and I might have missed the point. Well, let's just read that again. She says, and the organization, the interview and fear that the Steelers were just as responsible for the cover, where they did not fully participate in the investigation. Yeah. Good point. I mean, yeah, it's interesting, man. It's interesting. It's very interesting. I just kind of find it hard to believe that was what was actually said. But let's move on, man. Let's start here with Jesse George. He says, I'm sure Steelers would do something different, but it has to be something along those lines because Dupree gonna demand at least $15 million per season if he works with the Steelers. Okay, so I think you guys are talking about keeping the Steelers. Yeah, because you said before that, you said, I'm starting to think that it would be better to lose Hargrave and Dupree instead of cutting Foster, Chickalo, McDonald, and Barron to keep Bud. Now, that's an interesting point. You include Barron. Let me respond to that, Jesse. I mentioned it last week, man, but just to rehash it, my concern with not keeping Bud, we ain't got nobody behind him, man. We drafted him in the second round, so again, just off of projections. The draft don't always mean how you're going to perform as far as where you're drafted. We all know that. But you have to go with the projections before the draft starts. Where the projections are, the elite pass rushers probably are not going to be there at number 49th pick. So you're shooting in the dark, thinking you're going to go in and be able to find another guy that could play opposite of TJ Watt, only because we saw what a tandem could actually do last year. I think Bud Dupree has played himself into the conversation of franchise tag or try to get a deal done. Unfortunately, like many years, because of Ben Roethlisberger's cap, we don't have a lot of money. But I might have to disagree, Jesse, with the Foster point. This is just me. And Chickalo, to be honest. I'm at the point, man, where I can let Chickalo and Foster go. Chick is just a guy. And I've been the biggest supporter of his for years. But he's just a jag, man. He's just a guy. Foster is he's too slow now. He's older. He's never been, a very, very, swift moving guy, at his spot. More of a lumbering type of big body guy. But you can clearly see it now. You clearly see it if you really watch the plays. Sometimes the back is there before he can get around and he's just out in space. Nah, it's time to move on, man. If we can find another piece, maybe we have him on the roster, maybe we don't. But I think it's time to move on from paying guys like Foster and Chickalo. Just my opinion. But I understand your sentiment. I understand where you're coming from. Sixburg 6 says TJ will command a Brinks truck next year to sign. Talks for highest paid linebacker ever. How will you pay $45 to $50 million a year for two linebackers? You got a great point. It ain't gonna happen. Now, here's the thing. When Roethlisberger leaves, it's got to free up some money. Here's another thing. TJ Watt was a first-round pick, so I am almost certain that the Steelers will exercise the fifth-year option on TJ Watt. That's going to buy us another year. Okay, T.J. Watt is going into his 4th season, if I'm not mistaken. And then after that, bam, you're going to be able to throw the option on him, and that's going to buy you time. That's 2 years, 2 seasons, and Ben Roethlisberger's off your books. And then maybe there'll be some money right there. The question is going to be, though, is if you tag Bud Dupree, are you doing it just to rent him for another year? Or are you anticipating being able to pay him later? And next year, you're going to be in the same boat. So you'll end up being in a situation where you're going to have to pay Bud first? So, yeah. Welcome to the NFL, folks. That's the life of the NFL, man. And I don't envy the job of the GM. That's the life of the NFL. You can't always keep all of your stars. That's why you got to get young talent and get them good while they are under those rookie and first career contracts and try to make a push. Because if these dudes flourish, if all of them blossom, it's trouble time trying to keep them all. Let's see. What was the next thing? Oh, I want to follow up. Debbie said, and Myles is lucky he has been reinstated this soon. Most reinstatements tend to happen later between free agency and start of season. Yeah, I agree with that. Thunder Kid says, it'd be nice if we could get Big Ben to restructure his contract to help win him another Super Bowl before he retires. Well, here's the thing. There's not a whole lot of restructured room left for Ben Roethlisberger. It's not going to save but so much. Maybe in the front end, but in the back end is going to kill us. Because you assume that Ben Roethlisberger is only going to play out his last contract. There's 2 seasons left. If you try to restructure it now, you're trying to do it to save cap this year, but then there's going to be a bigger hit in his final season. So we're kind of at the point, man, where restructuring Roethlisberger doesn't do as much good for us. It's actually going to be more of a hindrance. I hate to say it, but it's going to be better for the Pittsburgh Steelers when Roethlisberger is no longer on the roster. That man is demanding a huge portion of the cap. And it just happens. When you have a franchise quarterback and you have a guy who's made $100 million a couple times, that's what's going to happen. Sorry for all the coughing tonight, guys, man. Throat, man. But yeah, that's just how it is, man. Ravens Nation says, this was blown out of proportion to me. Rudolph should have hit him back instead of looking back for the refs to complain. Well, Ravens Nation, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. This is probably the best way I can say this. It's easy for a lot of us to say what somebody should and could have done. It's easy for us to sit here and say what we would have done in this scenario. Fact of the matter is, you don't know. You got to take this into consideration. If I know I'm playing on a football field, it's televised, and refs are there, and somebody do something like that, it might be wise to make sure the refs saw it. You know what I'm saying? And I get saying hit them back and all of that, but you have to think about all of the things that might be going through somebody's head in that situation. To just be singly focused on he should have hit him back. I mean, again, the dude got a helmet in his hand. And again, I'm not saying that, other people may not have hit him back. I'm just saying we asking a lot out of somebody that we don't know. We don't know his character. Rudolph might be soft. Who knows? I don't think he is, but you never know. He might not be. He might not have that level of gangster. Where he get hit, he gonna attack back. He might not. So that's what I'm saying when I say it's hard for me to judge what somebody should have done. I can only say what I think I might have done. But then even in the situation, when it happens to you, you might even respond differently than you think. Because this is a situation that you don't see all the time. The dude is literally swinging his helmet at your head. I would imagine it's going to give you a little moment to pause for a second. So now I would just be, a little less critical about what he should have done, things of that nature. Jacob Perkins says, could we afford a guy like Bridgewater? I don't know. Not while Roethlisberger is still there. Listen, man, I don't think we can afford any veteran quarterback right now. I'm just being honest, man. We don't have a cap. Our cap is going to be very low without some real casualties. Now, we'll see. We'll see what happens, and we'll see, how we end up finessing the cap. But we're going to be right up against it. And think about it, guys. I don't believe there's a veteran quarterback out there that's going to go for less than $10 million a year. And that might be on the low end. We talk about quarterbacks. They know their worth. And I'm sure there's always a way to massage the cap. But if we do that, you're going to lose out in other areas. You see what I'm saying? So, don't expect it, folks. I told y'all, Mason Rudolph is going to be the backup quarterback. Unless a guy like J.T. Barrett can beat him out. Or Duck Hodges. Don't expect the Pittsburgh Steelers to go out there and spend money on a veteran. I mean, Rooney said it himself that they're not going to do it. Right? Rooney said himself that we are not going to get a veteran quarterback. Now, anything can change. Just because he said it don't mean nothing. But I'm just saying, don't expect it. Don't expect it. Good brother Kenyon says, if number 48 would have performed the way he did before this year, the Steelers may let him walk, but he played himself into another contract. He did. No denying that. Y'all know if my man Kenyon's saying that about 48. Those are the facts. Let's see what else y'all got. Luis D says, rumor has it that Phillip Rivers might go to the Colts. That could be interesting. Could be very interesting. And also, man, if I was Jacoby Brissett, I'd be feel a little slighted. You know what I mean? Listen, Phillip Rivers is arguable. Some people could say he's going to be a Hall of Famer, depending on how you want to tag it. He hasn't won anything. But the dude is 38, 39 years old. He's on the latter end of his contract. So if I was Brissett and I've been holding it down, I've been a respectable backup for you and the New England Patriots, and can play a little, and got youth, and is a little mobile, has somewhat of an upside, I would feel a little disrespected if you're going to bring this guy in to start over me for a couple years. Just my thoughts. Let's see what else y'all got, man. In the Green says, the fact that Mason had been knocked out and beat with his own hat and still wants to play football tells me he's gangster. Yeah. You right. I got to take that back. Maybe he is about that life. You know what I'm saying? But when you get thumped in the head with your own helmet, it's hard to say, what he should have did. Because think about it. In his mind, he's thinking, look, we still on a football field. So that reaction, to me, it wasn't him crying. It was more like, yo. You know what I'm saying? It's more like, yo. So that's why I'm not gonna blame him for not immediately hitting him back. Let's see. Sixburg 6 says XFL got potential. I'd be curious to see what their week 2 ratings were. But I will say this. This ain't a disrespect to the XFL. I actually appreciate the league if it stays around for a while, because it actually does give us some entertaining football to watch during the off season. But, it depends on what you mean when you say potential. Because to me, it's still just a farm league for the NFL. It's not going to overtake the NFL. I think what you might be saying is that it has potential to be a valuable league, a nice, component, another addition of football that allow us to be able to watch football now from February, from the Super Bowl, roll right into that, right into the draft, and then boom, here comes, NFL in August. That's great. It gives us more football to watch. But the funny thing about it, man, is all of these XFL players are ex-NFL players. Most of them. Some of these guys are undrafted talents, but it's just crazy. And did y'all see your boy Landry Jones? Man. How about Eli Rogers out there, man, playing on the day of his mother's funeral? That's something I'll get into later. I don't want to get into that right now, but I think, again, social media is being a little too harsh. Y'all don't know this guy. How you gonna judge him on what he decided to do? Excuse me. Ain't your mother. It's not your mother. You know, I think sometimes social media can get crazy with it, man. I mean, and I'm not one of them people that's like, oh, bar humbug social media. You know, we all a part of it. I'm just saying, I try to always introduce you guys to the way I think. I don't do the catty stuff like that. Who am I to judge him? Now, of course, when you hear it, you're like, ooh, that's tough. I don't know if I could do that. But when I heard the man explain why, I don't think I got a problem with that. I don't think I got a problem with that when I heard him explain why. I mean, what I'm going to say, that's his mother. Just my thoughts, man. But all right, guys, we're going to take, we actually do have one more call. So I will take one more call, and then we're going to call it tonight. Call it the night, excuse me. Area code 412. How you doing tonight? What you got for us?
Hey, what's going on, Sim? This is Pat. How you doing, man?
Good, man. How you been doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'm very well. I just wanted to give my put my 2 cents in on the whole Mason and Myles Garrett situation. How I feel is this. I've been listening around, hearing everybody's take from the debate shows. I do believe that Mason, at a point in time, should maybe find a way to clear his name so all this can get nipped out the bud. But for Myles Garrett, I'm gonna have to. I hate to say this, but this is sounding a little bit Jesse Smollett-ish to me.
Yeah.
This is a little bit Jesse Smollett. And I'm trying to figure out a way to just say this. As careful as it can be for somebody to say the N-word with the hard ER, it is also careful for someone to make a claim like that. Because I don't believe every Caucasian person is a racist or says racial slurs. But to come out with a claim like that, you've got to be real sure, because that will ruin a person's reputation. And in football and at a position like quarterback, where you are possibly the main leader on that offensive side of the field, your character's in question, your reputation's on the table, and how you stand with the players on the football team, and let's call a spade, the majority of the players on every NFL football team are African-American males. So if they hear that being said, they might come off and say, well, can we trust you? And as I was listening to everybody, if it was said that if it was said that Mason Rudolph said that to Myles Garrett, then like Mike Tomlin said, you would have heard it from Cleveland players, as well as possibly Cleveland players would have been like, Coach, we got a little situation going on. This man said something about my player. I think you need to nip this in the bud before it gets really out of hand.
Yeah.
But did you hear that throughout every press conference? No, you did not. So it's just it's in a day in the world we live in, especially in the day and age that we are in. It's hard. It's tough to even talk about this. But for him to double down the way he did, it's to be in question. But I will say this, though, before I go. Something was said that set him off the way it did. We will probably never know until Mason Rudolph either has a lie detector test or something like his question, but that's all I had to say to him. I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Thank you, man.
Yeah, man, appreciate you calling. And I would definitely comment on that before we wrap up. Yeah, I'm a little iffy with the lie detector. Let me explain my position. To me, I'm trying to put myself in Mason Rudolph's shoes. If I know I'm innocent, right? People always say, well, if you know you're innocent, you ain't got nothing to hide. You might as well take a lie detector test and da-da-da-da-da. I get all of that. But see, I'm cut from a different cloth, right? When I know I'm innocent, I'm not doing nothing extra to prove it. Nothing. My word is my bond. That's just how I'm built. That's the cloth I'm cut from. You know, some of you guys might be the same way. That's the era I come from. My word is my bond. If I know I'm innocent, I ain't saying a word. Y'all ask me about it and I'll be like, man, I didn't say that. Next question. I'm not going out the way to prove it. And some people would say, nah, man, you got to clear your name because if you know, nah, I don't. I'm the only one that need to know. I know I'm telling the truth. I'm good. And I'm just going to ride with my character and let my character speak for itself and let people like Mike Tomlin speak up for me. Because people don't do that if you don't have the character. You understand what I'm saying? People don't. Think about it. We all know people, right? Whether it's your friend, coworker, etc. When you hear something, you'll be like, nah, that don't sound like them. Nah, they wouldn't do that. Because their character is speaking for them. See what I'm saying? That's just who I am. You know, I wouldn't even go out the way. I'd be like, whatever, man. I didn't say that. You know, what he did to me was sufficient. You know, speaking out now is Twitter. By him coming out and being like, bro, that's a bold-faced lie, da-da-da-da. I leave it at that. My name is clear. You know, the court of public opinion is going to have you guilty or innocent regardless. Even if you take the lie detector test and it passes. People in the court of public opinion will still say, no, he did it. So, I ain't going out of my way to prove that. That's just me. But anyway, guys, what else y'all say? Yeah, and I do believe I saw what Sixberg said. Something was said. There was something. And I think more than anything else, Myles Garrett was just reacting. You know, the same way, you know, and I told this story when it happened. My older brother and cousin Floyd, that y'all know that be listening to the show a lot, might be listening tonight. They had an argument about this, and it was hilarious. My brother was more on the spectrum of, man, you know, I'm going to just be honest and let y'all know what he said. You know, my brother is very militant, okay? He's very militant. You know, he's very pro-black, you know. So I'm going to just let y'all know. My older brother is, you know, nah. You know, he shouldn't, he had to do something. You know what I'm saying? He just reacted. And I was like, look, I get what you're saying. I said, but you can't swing your helmet at dude. You know what I'm saying? You can't swing your helmet at cuz. You can't do that. I feel what you're saying. He's just reacting. Because my brother was trying to say, you know, no, Rudolph provoked it. You know, why they ain't get breathing down his neck? Okay, fair. But you still can't swing your helmet under this situation. It ain't like we in the street. But then Floyd said it was attempted murder. I was like, nah, Floyd, it's either on the other side of the spectrum. I don't think it was that serious. You know, I think the dude literally just reacted. The helmet just happened to be in his hand and he was in the moment and he swung it. So I don't think that he literally said, I'm going to take this helmet and crack him inside the head. I think it was just an impulse thing. He lost his mind for a moment, and there you have it. So I don't think it was as extreme on either side of the spectrum. I just think what happened. But absolutely, I think Rudolph said something that set him off. Or, you know, Myles Garrett might have been like, yo, what was this dude trying to do? He felt like he was taking my helmet off, so I ripped his off. And that's the one thing that we clearly can see without hearing anything. We clearly see that Mason Rudolph was fumbling with the back of his helmet. I don't know if he was trying to take it off. I don't know, was that his intention, or was that just his reaction? He's grabbing whatever he can grab. Myles Garrett took that as, oh, you trying to take my helmet off? Man, pump, I'll take your helmet off. Snatched it off and held it, right? So let's give Garrett credit for this. It won't like he snatched it off and immediately swung it. He held it and was like, whatever. Then when Rudolph come charging at him, impulse happened. Oh, I'm about to bust you in your, you know what I'm saying? It went left. But that's just how I see it, man. But it was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah, and Myles Garrett should have just left it alone. Kenya says that would be the downfall of human race racism, man, created. Yeah, man, absolutely. Absolutely, man, because I'll share a little story with you guys really quick, and then I promise I'm going to get out of here. Racism is absolutely created, right? Share a quick story with you guys, man. Me and my wife and my son was down in Virginia not too long ago. And, you know, a lot of times when we go visit family, we'll stay in a hotel, you know, because when we travel, we like to, you know, we like to make it feel like it's a vacation, even if we just going to visit family. So a lot of times we'll get a hotel so, you know, we can take the little man to the pool and stuff like that. You know, just try to make the best out of it. You know, and that's a tip, guys. Do that when you can, man, with your lady. You know, try to make everything a moment, right? So anyway, we in the pool the next morning. It's the three of us. And when we go in there, it's a guy, 4 little girls, and a boy. And they all probably range from the ages of 4 up to about 9. Okay? And this family was a white family. The woman was in the fitness center. She's working out. The guy, he's in the pool with them. He's in the hot tub. And they're from Georgia, right? From Atlanta, actually. But these kids was all over me and my wife for whatever reason. They took a liking to us. I mean, at one time, the one girl is all on the back of my neck. I'm dragging her around the pool. Like, and it's funny because me and my wife kind of talking without even talking, just looking at each other like, yo, dude ain't gonna say nothing. He just letting his kids run around. And it was like, it's all cool. You know, I'm friendly, easy to get along with, but these little girls was playing with us like they have known us for years. I mean, all around us, hugging. One of them was hugging my wife. And my point is, to them, we were just people. They don't know nothing. They know nothing, at least I would assume. They know nothing about different races. It wasn't a mentality of, oh, I'm white and they're black, or I'm white and that guy's Asian, or and this guy is Hispanic and this guy is from South America and this guy is from you know the Middle East. None of that. They were just enjoying us. So I say all that to tie Kenyan's point together. Racism is a created thing, right? Especially in 2020. Because none of us, right? I wasn't living during the real bad time. I didn't go through that. So in order for me to be a certain way, it had to be taught to me. Now, yes, I've had some encounters. I'm old enough to have had some real encounters. So I understand the type of world we live in. But what I'm saying is, my 6-year-old, he don't know. So it's my responsibility to teach him, you know, and allow him to learn things. And of course, when things arise, then I can talk. You understand what I'm saying? So like all I wanted to say, man, is like those kids they didn't have a care in the world. They were just having fun with 2 other people in the pool. There you go. But all right, man, I didn't mean to get so deep on you guys to end the Steelers segment. But yeah, that's going to do it for the night, man. And just make sure if you haven't already, guys, just do that. 3 instructions there, man. Hit the like button, click the subscribe button, cut on your notifications. That's all I ask you to do. As well, if you would like to donate, and thank you for those who donated during the show. If you ever want to do that, there's a $ at the bottom of the chat. Click on it, have at it. I will greatly appreciate it. But if you prefer to do it outside of YouTube, thank you to those of you who have done that. You know who you are. Cash App and PayPal. I've seen them from both, so you guys know who you are, guys and girls, by the way. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you care to do it that way, just check the description of the video. Right at the top, there's the information for Cash App and PayPal. Like I said, thank you in advance. But outside of that, hope everyone has a great night. Be safe. Go get your checkups, people. Get your annual checkups. But outside of that, man, unless something groundbreaking happens, I will be back talking to you guys next Tuesday. And once again, thank you for tuning in. God bless. Good night. And thank you for tuning in to Turbo Towel Tuesday. Peace.